Welcome back, guys. It is thrift flip time. Let's go ahead and get started. In today's video, we are working off of the challenge that I set for myself at the beginning of this year, which is to work through my hoard of craft things that I already have. And I challenged myself to basically pick 2 items, put them together. So I came up with several different projects that I want to do with this, but in today's video, we're going to focus on 2 of those. I want to try to keep this video simple and a little shorter than last week. So let's start in with this cute planter that I had picked up. It's just like a little tabletop planter with a cute little design in the back, and arched cute wire and everything. I really liked the shape and the detail on this, but we are going to have to paint it up. The second item that I picked was this flower. It's like a mixture of metal and wood that I also picked up thrifting 2 separate times, but I think that they would pair together really well. So let's go back over to the planter and we're going to start in with that. We needed to go ahead and prep it. It has chippy paint all over it, which looks really good, but it is chipping off and not adhered to the planter any longer. So I'm just going to take a flathead screwdriver, plastic palette knife, and my little window scraper, the mixture of those 3, to kind of get into the nooks and crannies and go ahead and get any of that loose paint chipped off completely so that we can move on to the next step. That would be to paint it. So we're going to wipe it down clean and then hit it with some white chalk paint. I'm only going to be doing 1 coat of that white chalk paint over the entire thing. We're going to let that dry and then we're going to grab our sanding block and we're going to sand back some of those edges. I want that darker, deeper color from underneath to shine back through, and also to let it kind of catch on some of those edges of the paint where, you know, it had already chipped off previously. So I'm going to do that over the entire thing, wipe it back down, make sure it's clean, and then seal it with some polyacrylic. After that, I kind of wanted to bring something else into it, so I started to kind of draw on with a Sharpie. I didn't end up liking that, so I did go back over, paint it with that white chalk paint, and then decided to do some dry brushing. But before I did that, I went ahead and worked on the flower. So for this flower, it is metal and wood, so I'm going to be cleaning it up, removing all the stickers and things, but then painting the wood part. It's already kind of like a white and like, I don't know, like a raw wood color, which I feel like doesn't quite mesh with the planter. And I want this to look like 2 pieces that were always meant to be together. So I'm going to come back in with some white chalk paint over that entire thing. And then I'm going to work with some dry brushing to kind of pop those colors off. So I'm going to come back in when it's still a little wet and do some black and some white, kind of to muddy the colors just a little bit. And then I'm going to just lightly be dry brushing with that black, letting it muddy. And then once that background dries, I'm going to come back in with that black and with a bright white at 2 different times. I'm going to come back in with that black, do some dry brushing on it, let it dry thoroughly, go back in with the white anywhere I feel like there needs to be like a brighter white while it's completely dry, and do that dry brushing. And then I did take the edge of a detail brush with some black and hit the edges of those petals as well, just because I want it to kind of blend into the distressing that is on the planter. From there, I just was lifting those metal leaves or petals back up to make it more 3D. And then I am going to be wiping them with a baby wipe and scraping or rubbing some of that paint that's on them off to distress it a bit. Again, show that black metal that's underneath to kind of tie it into that distressed look. And after that, I'm sealing the entire piece with some polyacrylic just to make sure it's not just going to rub back right off for the person who's going to be using this. I'm just going to attach it with some floral wire. So I'm just going to kind of string it through that hanger that's already there. And then I'm going to kind of place it and center it where I want it to go before I tighten it down. And then from there, we're going to move forward. This is where I, like I said, drew on that detailing. It would look better if I stenciled it on or something, but I tried to freehand, heated it, let it dry, and then I painted back over with that white. And then I really just felt like it needed something else down there, but I didn't quite really want to stencil it or add wording. So I decided to just go back in with some of that black chalk paint and do a heavy dry brush on the front of it and on the corners, just to kind of I don't know, like make it a little more rustic than what it's looking right now. After that dried, I went back in with some of that white just to balance it back out because I got a little heavy-handed. I let that dry thoroughly, and then I sealed the entire thing with polyacrylic again. And this piece is done. I know it's pretty quick and simple, but I feel like these two pieces were meant for each other. I love the way that this turned out. I decided not to go ahead and stage it with any florals or anything. I'm going to leave that up to whoever ends up buying this piece, but I would love to know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Next, I have two pieces. I just have an old sign that I had purchased. I like to pick up framed signs when I get them for a good price at the thrift store because you can turn it into so many things. Or if somebody wants to purchase a sign, then I already have something there ready that just is a little less work for myself. So I have that, and then I have this metal coffee cup with steam coming off. I found, again, both of these things completely separate, but I want to fuse them together as one. So I'm going to start in with that coffee cup. It is right now just kind of like a burnttish red color, and I'm wanting to turn it gold. So what I'm going to do is take some black chalk paint, and I'm going to paint the entire surface of it after kind of bending the metal back and making sure the shape is what I want. And then I'm going to let that dry. Next, I'm going to go in with some Rub and Buff, and I am going to, or Buff and Rub, which one is it? Yeah, Rub and Buff. And I am going to be rubbing that all over. I lied, pause. I did go ahead and seal that chalk paint in with some polyacrylic because I didn't want the Rub and Buff to reactivate the black and mix together. So I let it dry completely. I sealed that black paint in, and then I went in with the Rub and Buff. I chose black over white because I wanted it to have like a deeper, kind of darker tint to the Rub and Buff, even though that's going to cover it really well. If I would have done the white, it would have just been a little bit brighter, but I'm kind of going for more of a moody look on this. So I'm going to use the antique gold on this. I'm going to make sure I have ventilation because this smells straight up like spray paint. I'm going to make sure I'm using gloves and then just like a palette or something that you're going to squeeze it out on. So I'm just going to squeeze it out on this piece of plastic that I have, tap it with my gloves, and rub it in with my finger. And I'm going to go over the entire surface. This stuff covers really, really well, especially with that chalk paint giving it some texture and something to stick to. Smooth metal does make it kind of hard for it to stick. So what you can do is sand it down really, really well. But what I like to do is do some type of like clear coat. I do have a Rub and Buff video where I kind of like reviewed it when I first sampled it, and it might give you some good information there. If you have any extra questions, you can check that out. So anyway, moving forward, we're just going to cover this whole thing. I'm just working in circular motions, making sure the entire thing is covered. I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to go back in with some of the gold leaf Rub and Buff, and I'm just going to use this for a highlight. So I'm just going to kind of hit the top left and corners and kind of pretend like if the light were shining down from one direction, where would it hit on this cup, and just kind of add some dimension to it. And then I'm going to set it to the side to let it dry completely. You do not need to seal the Rub and Buff. It is going to be okay just by itself. Now it's time to work on the sign. I'm just going to remove stickers and then clean it up and start to paint it. I'm going to paint the entire surface and frame black. Again, I'm going to bring these colors all together. So I'm going to paint it all black, and when it's mostly dry but not completely, I'm going to go in with a rough like stenciling or chalk paint brush, and I'm going to excuse me, and I'm going to start adding two different colors of greenish blue. The one is sage, and the other one, I don't know what it's called. The other one is called Dusk by Waverly, and I'm going to use those to start kind of doing like hash marks, like X marks all over the background of that, and it's going to slightly reactivate and hit those wet spots on that black, and they're kind of going to start blending together but not completely. And I'm going to do that all over the background, just coming back in wherever I think is needed and cover the entire thing. I'm also going to, oh yeah, I started stippling it on just to kind of like put the paint on the canvas before I started hashing over it, but that was kind of unnecessary. You can just go straight in for the background texture that I ended up doing. And that's all I want to do, is add some dimension and texture to this background. So I did that all over, and then I started going in with some metallic gold as well and hitting that with the paintbrush. And then I let that dry, and I went back in with a smooth bristled brush, and I did it again with those two colors to make them a little bit brighter. So the background is a little bit dull, and then I go back in and hit certain spots just to make it brighter. So it looks like, you know, that's where the light would be hitting, just to give it more dimension. And then I did the same thing with that gold. I went back in, you know, the gold that I had first put down was a little muted, and now this time I'm doing it a little with that softer bristle brush. It's gonna leave more on, it's gonna make it smoother, and it's gonna make it a little brighter. So once I was happy with what the background looked like, I let that dry, and then I went ahead and covered back up on the frame. I did a second coat of that black chalk paint to cover up where I had gotten the colorful paint on the frame, because I want the frame to be black. Once that dried completely, I sealed the entire thing with some polyacrylic, and then we're going to make these two pieces one. So what I'm going to do here is use some floral wire again. I'm using a slightly thicker one, and I'm going to go ahead and tie it to the metal piece where I want it to go, lay it out and kind of line it up where I want it to meet on the sign, which you should probably do before you add your floral wire. I did it this way because I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to attach the floral wire to that metal cup. So anyway, we're going to take that, and then we're going to lay it down where we want it to and mark with a pencil where the floral wire needs to go through the back, and then come back through, and I'm going to drill 2 holes for each place the floral wire is going to connect. That way I can connect it through and then twist it at the back. So I drilled my holes, I did that, and then I started twisting it to tighten it down, and then we are going to glue those metal pieces to the back. One, we're going to do it so they're not sharp and pokey, and we're also going to do it to keep it secured just so they can't accidentally untwist. I mean, it's only going to happen if somebody's messing with them, but just for extra security. And I'm actually using my new hot glue gun. It's the Ryobi cordless, so it has a rechargeable battery. I just got this. I follow someone named Emily Silhammer, and she is an amazing painter and crafter, and she comes up with the most unique things. And I have been using, you know, my corded hot glue gun for years, and I have always said I was going to get myself a cordless one, and every time I deep dive to try to figure out what I want, I don't pull the trigger because I'm scared I'm going to purchase the wrong thing. So I know she got this one last year, or well, at least 6 months ago, and I had told her I'm going to check back in and see how it goes, and she said it was an amazing purchase. She loved it. It does get super hot, so you have to be careful, but best purchase she's made. So it comes with the battery, it comes with a charger, it comes with 3 glue sticks. You turn it on, it shows you that it's on with that, you know, light right there, and this thing was hot and ready to glue within about 15 seconds. I mean, and that was just me like coming back and being like, oh, is it ready? So really awesome, because it does get hot, really hot. There's only one setting, so there is no low setting. And I've been told, and through some reviews, that it will drip. So just be mindful of that, but you can just set it down flat. It's nice and sturdy and bottom heavy, so you don't have to worry about it falling over, you catching the cord, it getting in the way. You can take it with you, but it's not like crazy big. I mean, it's large compared to my other. This is the one that I typically use with the cord, but it's really not that big compared to it, right? It's just that extra battery at the bottom, which I say is worth it. So I'm going to link this in my affiliate links below so that if you are also interested, you can find it there. Amazon will kick me back some change, basically based on what they're getting, but I just wanted to plug that there because I love it so far and I wanted to pass that on. So moving along, that's pretty much all I have for this video. I know it's a pretty quick one, but like I said, I have a busy week and I'm just trying to work through these projects as they come to me. Love to know what you guys think. Which one of these was your favorite, and do you have a different idea of how you would have interpreted it? I would love for you to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this content. It really helps my channel out. If you are new here or back again, please consider subscribing to my channel. There is about 98% of the people who watch my videos who are not subscribed to my channel. So it would make a huge difference to me, a huge difference to the YouTube algorithm, to have you join my channel and let them know that you love it here so that it will push my videos. So that's my plea. I'm gonna take you guys in for a closer look, and I'll see you next time.